So how do you develop the confidence to play the piano in front of people? This is a big question that a lot of us pianists face at some point in our piano journey because, you've practiced and you've learned these songs and you want to perform them, right? So I'm going to share with you 4 ways that you can really feel confident when you sit in front of a piano to play those pieces in front of whoever, whether it's your friends, family, an audience, or complete strangers, okay? The first thing that you want to do is you want to have tunes up your sleeve. This is a little bit of a side quest, okay? So let's say you're walking down the street and you find a street piano. What are you going to do? Are you going to play it? Hopefully the answer is yes. If it's no, you might not have tunes up your sleeve. You've got to have a couple of songs up your sleeve that you can actually sit at the piano and play, right? Now, how do you actually do that? What does it mean to have tunes up your sleeve? It means to have learned and mastered to a certain degree several tunes, okay? So that goes into the second point, which is to rehearse the piece or the pieces that you actually want to perform in front of people. It's a matter of actually rehearsing it. It's not the case that you can learn a piece and then once you come around to playing it, you can just play it confidently. I mean, that might be the case, but it comes actually down to rehearsing. If you have rehearsed the piece a lot, then you're going to be really confident when you sit in front of the piano to play it, right? So it's really, it comes down to the time you spend in the practice room just playing the piece, rehearsing it, okay? Refining the details, mastering the details, and if there are any parts of the performance or the piece that you really struggle with, you want to lock in on those and you want to practice those. This is what we call deliberate practice, okay? So deliberate practice is actually working on and refining the parts of our playing and the piece and the performance that we're working on that we're not good at yet, that we haven't mastered. This is actually quite hard because we tend to want to practice the things that we're good at. But if we practice the parts of the song that we're good at, then we're not going to improve on our weaknesses and our weak areas of our playing, right? It's not easy to engage in deliberate practice to really focus on the weaknesses. Why? Because naturally we want to play what we're good at and we want to sound good on the piano. But if you want to feel confident when you actually perform that piece or play that piece in front of people, then you have to rehearse the weak areas of your playing. So you have to engage in deliberate practice. Okay, so next time you go and rehearse that piece to have it up your sleeve, work on the parts of that piece or those pieces that are weak, that are not very strong, and just practice them over and over again, okay? The next thing is to practice actually performing, right? What does that mean, to practice performing? Well, this is the stage where you've kind of, you've learned the whole piece, and to a certain extent, you've mastered it. Like, you can actually play the different parts of that piece. If it's a song, you can play the intro. You've got an intro, verse, chorus, bridge, whatever. You've got all of the parts of the song, of the performance. And now what you want to do is you want to actually practice performing. So what that means is that you want to actually sit at the piano, at the keyboard, as though you were there performing in front of people. So maybe imagine people behind you, imagine people in the room, and you want to play the whole piece from start to finish and perform it, right? Because performing a piece is different to rehearsing a piece. Rehearsing a piece is more, we're refining the details. When we're performing a piece, you're kind of like letting the practice and letting the technique and the technical things kind of melt away, fade away, and you want to just leave your emotions and your expression to come forth, and you want to play the piece and you want to perform the piece and bring it to life in the moment, right? And so you want to actually practice that act of performance, because performance is a skill that you can practice. Performance, like I said, is more about being in the moment and bringing the music to life as though there's an audience there, okay? So maybe you could imagine an audience there, so that when it comes to the time that you're actually performing in front of people, you've already run through this. You're already somewhat familiar with the experience of sitting there and actually performing it, right? And because you've rehearsed it, because you've refined the weak areas of that piece and of your playing, you're going to play it fine. You're going to feel more confident. And by the way, I found in my own experience that confidence really comes from the more you rehearse. So if you want to feel really confident, just rehearse more and more and more and get more, feel more comfortable with playing the piece really naturally, right? And that comes with rehearsal, right? And then the last thing I wanted to mention is to get out of your own way. That's easier said than done. And what does that even mean? Well, what I mean by that is that a lot of the time, most people who are going to see and listen to you play, they're probably not musicians. Well, you know, they might be musicians, but generally speaking, it's safe to assume that most of the time, 90% of the time, they might not be musicians, and so they don't actually really know whether it's good or not, right? You know what I mean? Like, if they don't understand music, you could play something really simple, and they could sit there and be like, wow, that was great, that was amazing, right? Because a lot of the time we actually get in our own head and we deal with all of these things like imposter syndrome, right? We have anxiety around making mistakes and things like this. But getting out of your own way is just kind of forgetting all of, not worrying about that. You know what I mean? Just being like, you know what? I'm just going to be here. I'm going to play music. And if there's a mistake, I'm not going to show it, right? I'm not going to allow... because the thing is, a lot of the time in my own experience, what I've found is that if you make a mistake, the people listening to it only know it's a mistake if you make it clear that it's a mistake. If you're playing and you make a mistake and you sit there and stop playing and you're like, and then start playing again, then they obviously know you made a mistake. Whereas if you're just playing and then you make a mistake but just keep playing as though nothing happened, then guess what? They think it's a part of the performance. So what that suggests is that most of the time it's us getting in our own way, right? So it's all about just when you're performing there in the moment in front of people, just allow whatever is going to happen to happen. Be there in the present moment. Enjoy the moment for what it is, even if you do feel anxious, even if you do feel nervous. Just accept it for what it is. Be grateful for the experience of getting to play the piano, because a lot of people wanted to learn the piano, but they didn't. And there you are in front of the piano actually playing. So congratulations. That's awesome. And yeah, just be in the moment and definitely rehearse the piece a lot. Have tunes up your sleeve. Practice actually performing, delivering a performance. And when it comes to that time to play in front of someone, whether it's someone you love or friends or some random people on the street, if you find a street piano or something like that, you're going to feel confident, right? You're going to feel good and you're going to be in the moment. You're going to enjoy it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Definitely, if you did, please like the video. It really helps these videos. It helps YouTube know that these videos are helpful or whatever. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, subscribe and all of that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.